Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Spacemuffin, and this is the Void Playground, the podcast where we talk about things and stuff. So we have JD here. You guys all know JD, and we do have Mofi here as well. So, JD, what are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about the entertainment industry, and for those out there who want to be part of the entertainment industry, how can you guys get into it?
100%. Yeah. So this is good. This is good, man. So as someone who works in the entertainment industry myself, and performing arts and things like that, I think this is going to be a really awesome podcast. Mofi, what's your knowledge of the entertainment industry?
So I'm not very related to it, but I do know a little bit about it. Living in New York and all, so yeah.
Interesting. JD, what about you? What are your thoughts?
So for me, I dabbled into the entertainment industry a little bit. I've been doing YouTube for a little while. And of course, I know you, Space. You do entertainment, and a couple other people that does entertainment. So this is basically a Q&A for you mostly because you are the one that is in the thick of it.
100%. So go ahead and start shooting questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
So first question is, if I'm looking to enter the entertainment industry, what are the tips and advice you would give somebody who is brand new and wanting to enter in?
Yeah, so the question that I'm going to answer your question with a question. So the question is, what part of the entertainment industry do you want to get into? Do you want to get into the producing side? Do you want to do camera work? Do you want to be a performer? What specifically? So that's the first question I would ask. And then from there, there's really no one set path. I think the best way to get started is this is my humble opinion. Other people might have different opinions, but my opinion is just start working, start getting into student films, start doing just whatever field you want to do, but just any level, even if you're not getting paid, just get started, basically, is my advice there.
Okay, let's just say I am looking to act. I want to be the next Iron Man or the next Thor. How do I get started?
Okay, yeah, so this is good. So step one, you want to have a good demo reel, okay? And you get a good demo reel by, once again, just getting into projects. So getting into student films, getting into your friends' projects. And your demo reel is probably going to be about a minute long. It's just to get you started. So step two, you want to get headshots. Okay, so step one, demo reel. Step two, headshots. Don't skimp out on your headshots. I made the mistake of skimping out. It's going to cost you much more in the long run. Get good headshots, get with a good photographer. It might take you a couple times, but you're looking for, you're not going to have many amazing photos. When I say amazing photos, I mean like S tier photos of yourself. You know what I mean? You want to hold yourself to the highest standard. So, and then step three is find yourself an agent. So those are the first three steps. Once you do that, that's the beginning. Once you do that, then you're able to move on to the next steps after that.
I have a real quick question for you about that. What's the best way for someone to go about getting an agent?
Great question. So, excuse me. Yeah, there's many ways to do it. Some basic rules of thumb, right? There's no one path to this whole thing, but some basic rules of thumb are, you shouldn't have to pay your agent. Do not pay your agent unless they get you work. It's just that simple. And when starting off, it might be 15%. It might be 10, 15%, somewhere around there. And so the best way to get an agent is, at someone who's starting off, the best way is to go onto IMDb Pro or talk to your acting coach if you have one. We'll talk about acting coaches in a little bit. And you want to get an agent list, and you want to make sure that they're reputable agents. You want to make sure that they are that they're going to work for you. Ultimately, that's what it is. So when starting off, you're not looking to get into the A-list agencies immediately. Just find someone who you vibe with and that 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 you can do your research on, and that's why having certain tools, having like IMDb to be able to look up agencies and other people to make sure that they're reputable is a very important tool. So I hope that answers your question, Mofi. Like basically, you gotta find an agency list, and then
And
you
then
gotta.
like back to that question, like in your opinion, do you think that in this age of the internet and everything, it's become easier to start out in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, so I don't know what it was like before the internet,
Mm-hmm.
but in some ways it's easier because you have access to a wealth of knowledge. You have access to the phone numbers for these people. You no longer have to go to in-person auditions. There's a lot of self-tapes. Um, so there's a lot of advantages, but I don't know. On the other hand, like those are the advantages, but on the other hand, it's like there's so much more competition because of the ease of access. I hope that answers your question.
So, in terms of audition and self-taping, how do you stand out from the crowd? Like, what do you do? What do you do to stand out from the rest of the applicants
Yeah.
for
So,
the role?
so so step one is don't try to stand out. I think try to be the best you that you can be. Try to be the best. Like no one can be a better you than you, right? So I do a lot of commercial work and things like that, and I've learned to just be myself. And if they're either going to like you or they're not going to like you, you know what I mean. And and now if you're going for theatrical work, yeah, you can stand out and things like that. um Acting coaches really do help with the audition process. Like auditioning is an art form in and of itself, right? So I mean, it just depends on what you're going for. But for commercial work, just be yourself. They're either going to like you. And for theatrical work, just be the best you, right? Like figure out like learn you, how you work. What's your thought process? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have any other questions?
I don't.
Yeah. So, no, sorry. We're gonna say JD.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say so. When starting off, you just want to make sure that you're going to be doing let's say you do get your agent, right? You're going to be doing a lot of work on your own. Don't expect your agent to do everything for you. Okay. So there are three people that you're going to have on your team, like three main people. Like you're like as you grow, you're going to get more people. So number one is your agent. They get you work. Okay, they're the ones who send you out on auditions. They get you work. That's their only job is to get you work. Okay. Then you have a manager. Okay, the manager it takes on several roles, but a manager is someone you might call and ask for career advice. Hey, is this a good career move? Genuinely, or not genuinely, generally, you might pay a manager yearly or monthly or whatever. Managers are pretty important, but I would say the agent starting off is very important, and then after the agent, I would actually say the acting coach is probably the next most important thing, because the acting coach is going to help you hone your craft, and acting coaches could be anywhere between $25 to $100 an hour, even maybe even more depending on the acting coach. But their job is to hone your craft, to help you exercise your acting muscles, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go over that again. So agent gets you work. Acting coach, helps you become a better actor, helps flex the acting muscles, helps work the acting muscles, helps with the audition process. And then the manager helps with your career. They help manage your career. They help give you career advice, all that stuff.
Okay, makes sense. That does make sense.
So in the beginning, there's Actors Access, and then there's casting networks, there's IMDb Pro, and there's also Backstage. Gun to my head, like, hey, you can only have 2 or 3. I would say IMDb Pro is a must, as well as either Backstage or Actors Access. That's what's going to allow you to get jobs, right? So whether you're a voice actor or if you're looking to do commercial work or whatever, for you, like submitting for yourself, like you being your own agent, those are the two two websites that I recommend, and then obviously IMDb is really good. Yeah, that's kind of starting off, and then it just kind of grows from there. You know, you kind of polish your demo reel, get better headshots, you know, and kind of just keep moving through the process, you know. But I'm kind of giving you guys the Spark Notes version of this whole process. I mean, it took me. I mean, I have a theatrical agent, and then I have a commercial agent, and it takes a while, you know. I mean, you got to be persistent with it. You know, you have to be willing to because you also have to audition for your agency as well, you know, before you sign with them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I just have a quick question for all the people that are like, you could say aspiring to be in the entertainment industry. Like, where would you say is the easiest to get started off? Like LA, New York, San Francisco? Like, where do you think it's easiest to find work and just from there?
So if you're not in one of those three spots, my recommendation is do a little bit of local theater. You don't want to get caught into the local like I did local theater for a while, you know, but you don't want to get caught into the scene unless unless that's what you want to do. If you want to be just, you know, do your local theater all day, that's fine. So obviously New York has a really, really great theater scene. Obviously same with San Francisco, the Bay Area, you know, they all have really good film and theater programs. So in my personal experience, I don't have experience in New York, but in my personal experience, Los Angeles is the place to be, simply because you have not only do you have like a nice, you know, theater situation. It's not as good as San Francisco or New York, but you also have a really good, like, everything's very easily accessible. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. You have everything from your students. So you have, you know, USC and UCLA. So you can do a lot of student work. There's also work in, you know, like, you know, Orange County. You can go to like Chaplin University and you can get work there. Right. So that's student films. You're not going to be getting paid, but you're going to be building your demo reel. So while you're on set, you're going to be meeting people, right? You're going to be meeting people. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, hey, I know this, you know, this guy knows this guy. And, oh, hey, I should introduce you to my friend, or, you know, whatever. You're going to be making connections while you're doing that, which is going to lead you to actual work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just by sheer like variety, you know what I mean? The competition is stiff, but, you know, if you're auditioning, if you're, you know, just being active, then I think you're going to do really well, right? So yeah, that's just my experience. I've been to the Bay Area. I've checked it out. If you're looking to get into the theater scene, you know, obviously the Bay Area, but the Bay Area, it's stiff competition in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know, in the film world, you know, you can do like, you know, everyone's making films, everybody, you know what I mean? So if you just audition for, you're going to get something, right? And that's going to lead to something else. If that makes sense.
I find it like funny you say that, because I mean, I always, coming from like an outside perspective, thought it would be harder to start off and say somewhere like Los Angeles, because, well, I've never been and haven't lived in Los Angeles. I've heard that the cost of living there is so expensive. So it feels like it might be a little difficult for a starting out actor or producer to live there.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned expenses. So the biggest mistake that I see a lot of people, like, they move directly into LA. They're like, oh, I'm going to move in like LA City, right? LA is massive. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
There's the literal city, the metro of LA, and then there is the LA County, right? So, for example, okay, so one of my friends works for Disney, right? And they live in Palmdale, and they just commute. And it's way cheaper, right, to do that, you know? So my advice to someone wanting to move in is look for places that are within an hour radius, right? Because you're going to be stuck in traffic anyways in the morning. And, you know, let's say you're stuck in traffic for 15 minutes a day. That adds up, right? Versus, you know, you just have to drive an additional hour, right? Like if you're stuck in traffic for 15 minutes, you know, there, and then 15 minutes back, sometimes it's 25 minutes. Sometimes you're not stuck in traffic at all, but it does add up. So my advice, like to save expenses, is move somewhere that's close, right? Like you don't have to move like directly like in the heart. You don't got to move like into Hollywood, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope that makes sense, Mofi.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so in terms of the entertainment industry, since you're part of this space, you see the good and you also see the bad. So, what are the pros and cons of being in the entertainment industry?
Okay, great question. So let's go over the pros. The pros are if you love doing it, if you love acting, if you love making movies, if you love, I mean, whatever, even if it's like video game production, right? Like any aspect of entertainment, singing, you're doing what you love doing, you're chasing your dream. You're not wondering like, oh, like I wish I had have gone for my singing career, my dancing career, or my music career. Like you're doing it, right? So that's one pro. I would say that's the biggest pro. Obviously, you do get recognition for your work and you get praise for your work. I think that is a factor. And then of course it's just fun. It's no 2 days are the same, right? And you get to be creative. You have a really great creative outlet. So that's kind of the pro side. The cons are it's inconsistent. It's incredibly inconsistent. If you're not, like for example, like there might be a week, a month where you make $10,000, right? Like I mean, even just as a beginning actor, right? But then for whatever reason, you have no work for the next 3 months, right? Either just whatever reason, they don't like your audition or whatever, right? There might be months where you get one audition. There might be months where you get 5. There might be months where you get 10, right? So it's inconsistent and uncertain, right? And so if my advice to anybody is savings. Make sure you have a good savings account going before you get in, and just be good with your money. Don't go like buying things that you don't need to go buy. Don't be going to the bar every weekend. Don't be doing a bunch of crazy stuff, right?
Okay. In terms of savings, I want to go back to that, right?
Oh, let me finish with the cons. The other con
okay.
is this.
I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was taking a drink of water. The other con is this, guys. As you rise up as an actor, there's a lack of privacy. There's a lack of people don't look at you as a person anymore. They just look at you as a product. So yeah, sorry. That was, I just wanted to mention that. That's very important. But we're going to say about savings, Judy.
So in terms of savings, right? Let's just pretend there is a person out there in their mid to younger 20s working a full-time job, a 9-to-5 job, and they just want to switch careers. What advice, besides the savings part, would you give them in terms of wanting to be in the entertainment industry? Do you say that, hey, quit your job and go straight into it, or slowly exit out, or what type of advice would you give that person who's in their mid-20s or even early 20s who's just want to a career change or industry change?
Yeah, the good news is this. Okay, most things like apply to the entertainment industry. So I'll give you an example. Food, right? There's a whole. If you work in food, people got to eat, right? If you're working in accounting, people got to, keep track of things for their tax, tax purposes. So you can find, like, let's say you drive a truck, right? There's transportation, or you drive a bus, like you can get into the transportation side of things, right? So, you can take your skills that you currently have and apply it to the entertainment industry, if that makes any sense. So my advice is probably don't quit. I wouldn't quit your job unless you're going to commit, right? If you just want to dabble in it a little bit and you're not wanting to commit, that's fine. But the only way you're going to be successful is to commit, because the people that like the competition, they're committed. They're going above and beyond, right? So, my advice is, like I said, if you want to dabble, you want to poke your feet in, if you want to be safe, sure. That's no big deal. Just keep your current job and maybe do a show, or maybe do a little bit of theater. Maybe do some camera work on the side. But one of the things that has made me successful is the fact that I went all in. I said, you know what? Either I'm gonna make it, or I'm gonna like, or I'm not. Like that's it's just that simple. And so, it's not all easy. I struggled a lot. I still do struggle. And anyone who says that they don't, unless you're, like Tom Cruise or whatever, they're probably not, giving you the full picture. So I hope that answers your question, JD.
Yeah, it does. Mofi, you have anything else?
No, not on that topic.
No? Okay. So off to the next question is going to be so in terms of acting, right? That you're going to show your face in front of the camera or in front of people. So in terms of like when you see actors or actresses, they look like very beautiful. They look like they're fit and stuff like that. So in terms of that, what do you suggest people do in terms of if they're not looking like, let's say, for example, Chris Pratt or like all the other actors, like with chisel chin and like six-pack abs and things like that,
100%. So number one, you don't have to look like that. Okay, that's number one. You don't have to look like that. That's not necessary. There's different roles for every shape, size, and look of every single person. So having said that, though, sometimes as actors and as entertainers, we do want to make that transformation. And so my advice is, get in a routine, right? Figure out, just, it doesn't matter if you're, you don't have to be going hard every single day, but as long as you get into a routine, that's what matters, right? And if you fall off the horse, just get back on. But, a lot of it, JD, it's makeup. A lot of it is makeup. These people have personal trainers. These people have dietitians. So in the beginning stages, you got to be your own personal trainer. You have to be your own dietitian, right? You have to do these things for yourself. And my advice to a lot of people is, if you are trying to go out for those type of roles, roles that require to be athletic, it's better to be in shape than to have to get in shape quickly, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
But I want to stress that it's not a prerequisite. It's not required. Obviously, if like someone like Christian Bale, right? Like he transforms. He can be bigger. He can be skinny, or whatever, right? So I mean, it just depends on the type of actor that you are and what you're comfortable with. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Makes sense. So in terms of acting, what roles do you personally like to take on?
That is a really good question. So, in the beginning, people say, "Oh, just take whatever you can get," and that's kind of good advice. But you want to make sure that you're building your reel. Like obviously, like if I'm in a movie and maybe it just I don't know. It's like you want to try to, you don't want to judge your characters, but you want to try to pick things that you're going to be happy with. So the type of roles that I look for are roles that number one challenge me, but also number two that I can have fun with. The dialogue is fun. I like confident characters. I like characters that maybe aren't me, right? Sometimes I like to play villainous characters. Sometimes I like to play wacky, crazy characters. I try to stay away from ultra serious stuff, but that can be fun too, but just because at the level that I'm at, it's like, I don't know. It's a lot of directors that I've worked with and things like that. They, I don't know if I can give them what they're looking for, and I know that's kind of like, maybe not the right thing to say, but it's really all what you're comfortable with. So to in short, to answer your question, the type of roles that I look for are roles that I'm comfortable with, roles that characters that I that I can really craft a really good character around and really dive into the dialogue. And and also I like to have good arcs. I like the character to have a nice arc and things like that. Having said that, in the beginning, just try to take what you can get and try to experiment. There's no wrong way. I'll put it that way. Oh, sorry, there's no right way, right? There we go.
So in terms of what you've done so far acting wise, what was your favorite role? Like, what was your favorite role to play?
Yeah, see, it's kind of like asking like, well, who's your favorite kid? So, wow, that's tough. So I play a kind of a mob. He's kind of like a hustler type character, and he is yeah, he's really cool. He's really cool character, and he has a really great arc. I played him in several movies, so there's that aspect of it as well. You know, the fact that I'm able to grow with the character.
So in the entertainment industry, we hear all the time, you're going to get rejection. You're going to get rejected a lot. How do you deal with rejection? And what do you do when you get rejected from a role that you desperately wanted?
Okay, so that is a wonderful question. So number one, you will be rejected. You will be rejected a lot. Okay. You're gonna be rejected so much. In fact, like if you can't deal with rejection, like this is not the industry for you. Okay. So the best way to deal with rejection is just don't take it personal. Start learning to not take things personal. There's 1,000 other people that auditioned, and you just weren't the person for that role, that particular role. So, or whatever, but no worries, do your best, forget the rest, enjoy the process of auditioning, and, if you take it too seriously, you're missing the point. Obviously you want to take it seriously, but don't beat yourself up. Don't get depressed because you're going to get rejected. I mean, for me, like, it might be 1 out of every 20 auditions, 1 out of every 30 auditions, right? 1 out of every 10. It just depends, right? On how just what the casting director thinks. There's obviously, you can learn the audition process and get better at that. But dealing with rejection, that's just part of the industry. So like get used to rejection, be okay with rejection, and you'll do good.
Okay. Have you been acting in any movies and TV shows before? Have you done both or just strictly movies?
So I haven't done any TV work. I've done commercial, movie, and then I've done theater acting as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question actually. This one's a little bit of a banger, I guess you could call it. But do you think nowadays that our country is so politically divided that politics has kind of made its way and weaseled into the entertainment industry, unlike before?
Yeah, so it's always been there. Like it's
Mhm.
always been there from the dawn of cinema, the dawn of like ever since the first play, or whatever, since the first things were performed, right? Like politics have always been in the entertainment industry, and they always will be, right? Because art imitates life, and there are elements that are there, and the reality is that people say it's just tough, right? Because the difference is technology. I think that's the fundamental difference. Is that we are able to. It's on YouTube. It's on our feeds. It's on this everyone's opinions and all this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, politics have definitely weaseled their way into the entertainment industry. They've always been there, in my opinion, and I think the key is that we have to realize that hey, this is entertainment, right? And we also have to realize it's okay to say, hey, I disagree with you, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not
Yep.
attacking you. Like I disagree with you, and that's fine. Like no big deal, right? Um, like I watch movies that don't necessarily align with my political values. I watch movies that don't align with my belief system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's entertainment, right? Like, I think some people take it a little bit too seriously, right? And having said that, you have people that have had allegations leveled against them and things like that, and like does that ruin the movie? It's from like once again, like you got to separate the art from the artist. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we're proud of, but we all do things that we're ashamed of, things that we don't want anyone to see, things that we're not happy about. Now, obviously, if someone is assaulting someone or something crazy like that, and I understand the idea of like, you don't want to support this person. I totally get that, but I think there's nuance to the whole conversation. So I don't know. That was a little heavy, but I think like there's nuance to everything, and no one's like all good or all evil. Like I don't think anyone is like all bad or all good. And so like as an actor, as someone in the entertainment industry, if you're a producer, filmmaker, director, dancer, singer, whatever, rock star, the people are going to look at your life with a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Like every word that you say is going to be looked at with a magnifying glass. I'm not at that level yet, luckily, but that can be really crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I hope I answered your question. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
Okay, so let's roll it back a little bit to terms. You said YouTube, right? YouTube is a form of entertainment. So it is also like Twitch and other forms of like live streaming or video creation, right?
Yes.
In terms of that, how does because a lot of people, like I've been scrolling through TikTok a lot, right? And there's this controversy going around of like YouTubers and live streamers should not go into acting. So what are your thoughts on that? Because for me, in my opinion, it's the same thing as if you were to act for a movie or if you were going to act for a TV show. You put on a show for your YouTube channel or you put on a show when you're live streaming. So the rhetoric of that is people saying YouTubers and streamers should never be in Hollywood. What's your take on that?
So like that's just kind of like I don't know. It's like the mob, right? The mob mentality. I think anyone who wants to get into the entertainment industry should. I think it's whatever you want. Are you going to be good at it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I think if you want to do it, like no one should stop you from doing it, or no one should say that you can't do that. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Okay. So let's go back to be more lighthearted. So the roles that you have done so far, how do you get yourself into character? What's your method of getting yourself into character? Like your like a routine or whatever that you do.
Right. So it's different for every single person. It's different for every actor. But my process is, every actor talks about the process, right? It was funny. I was watching Futurama, and there's an episode that makes fun of like the process, that actors have and that musicians have and all that stuff. So as an actor, what I do is step one, I read through the script. I read through it, casual read through, and and then step two, I go back and I look at my character and I try to learn my lines. Sorry, I don't try. I do learn my lines. Like it's basically first nature. It's not second nature. It's literally first nature. You got to learn your lines so well, right? Now I know actors like Tom Holland. And if Tom Holland's watching this, but it's like that'd be amazing. But I believe he does not look at his lines until the day on set, right? I'm not that actor. I have to know my lines inside and out, and then develop a character from there, basically. So there's different types of actors. There's character actors, so that'd be like maybe Johnny Depp would be a really great example. And there's like method actors, which is maybe like Daniel Day-Lewis. He's kind of a method actor. And then you have what I would call the quote unquote movie star. So that's like Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah.
I hope you guys can see the fundamental differences. But going back to like what I do, I just try to learn my lines as good as possible. I try to get into the flow, and then like I try to play with it from there, right? Like when we do different takes, you're free to be able to create, in that way. But I'm a big fan of preparation. I believe that preparation is the key to succeeding. But and that's not how it is for everybody. Maybe you have a different method. Like, for example, like I'll write down my lines. Like I'll do every like single thing to get the lines down. I'll say them in different ways. I don't look in the mirror or anything like that, but I try to get I try to get with my fellow actors and maybe run the scenes, and just it really depends on how much time you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a situation like, oh, dude, hey, Space Muffin, we need you. Like, our guy just dropped out. Can you be here tomorrow? I'm like, okay. So I've had that happen before. Where like the day before, I have to develop the whole character and learn all the lines. So the process might be a little bit different. But if it's like, hey, man, we want to cast you in this, and we're going to be shooting in 6 months. Here you go. Like, I'm going to approach that a little bit differently as well.
Okay. So in terms of you learning your lines, how long does it usually take you to memorize like a full script for like say a movie or even a commercial?
Yeah, so commercials generally speaking don't have like their scripts aren't that long, so you can memorize them fairly quickly. But for me, I have a very bad memory, believe it or not, guys. So I have to double down. So I would say it takes me really the rehearsal helps, with that process. So it could take me anywhere between like a month to 3 months, or even a week. It really depends on how much time I'm given.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Like, I don't know. Like, it could be a day, honestly, because like, but it just all depends on what the context is. But yeah, to answer your question, slowly. Like, it takes me a long time to memorize my lines, so I gotta really run the lines over and over and over again to get them right.
Has there been a point where you're on set and you're filming and you just completely forget your lines?
Happens all the time. So I've seen it done in theater. Granted, that's on a more amateur level, but yeah, it happens all the time. People forget their lines. It's not a big deal. You don't got to be like, oh crap, I forgot my line. Just hey, line, or hey, can I see the script? You just
Mm-hmm.
like no big deal, right? Like people are gonna treat you like they're gonna treat you good, and if they don't, then that's their fault. But yeah, it's not an uncommon thing. Like even like on the highest level, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
forget your line. And it's
So
not necessarily because you don't know them. It just might be because you're nervous, right?
yeah, how many cuts did it take for you to learn your lines? Like,
How many cuts? What do you mean
yeah, how many
exactly?
cuts? Like when you like, let's say if you forget a line, what has been your longest, um, like cuts? Like let's say like you forget one particular line, and you have to say, "Cut! I forgot my line. I forgot my line." How many times do you have to do that in one
So
shoot?
yeah, so usually the director is the one that's gonna say cut, but for me, it's like once or twice.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like it's all about preparation, right? If you're prepared,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a lot easier. Like if you know, like okay, hey, we have a big monologue, but also
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they switch it up on you, right? Sometimes for whatever reason things get switched up, so you got to do something completely different. So my best advice is just do your best, forget the rest.
Okay. So let's take it back a little bit, okay? Let's go all the way back to young Space Muffin. Okay. So what prompted you into wanting to become an actor and being in the entertainment industry?
That's a really good question. So, when I was a kid, my parents would show me movies. We'd watch like Terminator and obviously like Star Wars, and I always wanted to do some kind of performing arts. When I was in middle school, I was in the drama club, and things like that, and I always had an inclination towards acting. Um, there wasn't really one moment or one movie that did it for me. I mean, I can cite like like Goodfellas, and like mob movies and things like that. That really made me wanna like kind of, oh, that looks fun, right? Like that kind of made me want to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's not really like I can't really pinpoint a a moment. I think it just it just happened, and before I really wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be like a rock star. So I was in a band and I played music and everything like that. And I still play guitar and stuff, but I think I've always just had an inclination towards the performing arts.
And then like coming back to that point, I'm curious, like what do you find in acting or producing like the most enjoyable part about it?
So yeah, the most enjoyable part for me is seeing the finished product, seeing all the hard work that you put in, and other people aren't going to see it, but like you and your producer buddies or your other acting buddies or whoever your directing friends, they're going to be able to appreciate your work. And then also it gives fulfillment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't get fulfilled. They're like, oh, I've been acting and I'm just not fulfilled, like but me, it's like I'd rather do what I'm doing than, like, here's how you know you're fulfilled. Okay, I'm sorry for not finishing my thought, but here's how you know: when you would do it for free, right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
hey, I would just do this for free. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, dude, it's like I can either like work a job that makes pretty consistent money, and I'm living a comfortable life, but I'm not fulfilled, right? Or I can be doing the acting thing and make the movie making thing, and I'm fulfilled, right? So, um, the fulfillment, I guess, from the finished product, Mofi, if that answers your question, it's the fulfillment from the finished product that's my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you're on set, describe to us what does the set look like? Is it like as glorious or as like glorified as it seems to be on movies and TV shows, and how it is behind the scenes?
So every set is totally different. Some sets it might be a green screen, and that's it. It's just a green screen, or a green stage or whatever. Some sets might be shooting on location, right? And in which case you have to deal with the elements, whatever they are, either extreme heat or cold or whatever. You got to deal with that. Sometimes you're in a studio where they have constructed the set, um, or whatever. So, what's it like being on set? Generally speaking, as an actor, you're going to get your own area, so either like a trailer or a little room or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna have refreshments and things like that. There's a crafty table, generally speaking, for everyone. And then you're gonna see people shuffling around. People moving lights, people setting things up, people painting or doing whatever they need to do, right? Um, but yeah, typically on a highly professional film set, there might be a bunch of trailers, right? And certain departments have a trailer, so like there might be like the makeup department has a trailer, the hair department has a trailer, or sometimes it's both. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, each set looks different, but those are kind of some general things. Then you have like the production office, right? Like you have so many different elements, and there's so many different departments on a film set. So, but yeah, and then there's video village, right, where people can monitor what's happening. Um, and there's so many different elements basically that come into play on a film set. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, yeah, it does. So before we wrap up, because we're about to run out of time, um, what are the like the new projects you're working on? Are there anything new that you're currently working on and you want to like promote or anything like that?
Yeah, due to non-disclosure agreements, I'm not able to say, but I can tell you that I'm working on a sci-fi right now. I just got done with a sci-fi, really great project. Really wonderful people, and then I'm writing a script actually right now. It's
Oh,
a kind of a romantic drama, so there's that, and then there's also my first TV series I'm going to be working on potentially. So,
oh wow,
but
okay.
that's also all that's all from like kind of a producer side as well. It's kind of you know it's just, yeah, it's I got a lot in the works, and but my thing is, like, I don't celebrate until day one on set, and even then, because things always change, right,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reasons. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So, quick before we end, you brought up briefly your kind of producing as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about like your experience being a producer?
Okay, so that's a great question. So producer is a very broad term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have, like, like your associate producer, your co-producer, your executive producer, and then your producer, right? So those are all kind of the producing roles, and they all have a variety of different functions depending on the size of the project, who's involved, or what the demands are for the project. Um, And so from my personal experience, being a producer is, um, really, going on location scouting and, making basically decisions and helping the production along with what the production needs or what's going to be good for the production. And, those elements, they all kind of come together, right? But, and then sometimes the producer's just like, hey, like, here's some money, right? Now, I mean, I don't have a bunch of money, but, there's things like that. So, yeah, producers play a very, very, very big role in filmmaking, but it just depends on the needs of the production.
I have a quick question about that actually. Like, could you kind of break down like what goes on a set that goes into making that final project that we all see on our screens and stuff?
Yeah. So, I know you mentioned on set, but I'm just going to give you the whole rundown. So,
Okay.
you start with an idea, and then you get a script, and you revise it, you format it, you make sure everything looks nice. You might get some shot lists together. You might get basically this is pre-production, so the pre-production phase. This is where you're getting the blueprint for your movie together. So the blueprint is the script, and then obviously you can do, you can do like a shot list, and you can do things like that to help aid the production. So, and also the logistical aspects. How much is this going to cost? How long are we shooting? Where are we shooting? Who's involved? Who we're going to get? What actors are we going to get? What camera people and lighting people and things like that. So, that's the pre-production phase. Just figuring out everything you're going to do before you start shooting. The next phase is the production phase. Okay, this is the phase where you're actually shooting on set. So, this phase, everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone should know what they're doing, and if not, then someone should tell you what you're doing. So, this is the phase where this is the doing phase. This is where we are on camera, and some days, they might need a fog machine. Some days they might need rain. Some days they might need this, that. They might call in the VFX team to say, hey, is this going to be good for the VFX shots that we're doing, right? So there's that process. So it's called the production phase. This is when you actually produce and create the movie. And that phase, it can last anywhere between a day to 6 months or 3 months or whatever, right? So once you're done shooting your movie, you then have the post-production phase. Okay, so this is where you're editing your movie, you're putting in your VFX, you're doing sound, you're just making everything. You're putting together the footage and you're making your movie. Okay, and then once you're done with the post-production phase, you have the release phase. This is where your movie either gets shown on YouTube or at film festivals or at a private screening or whatever. The movie has been released to the world. It might go into theaters. It might be on Blu-ray, DVD, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. I hope that answers your question, Mofi.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, and just kind of some closing things. There is no one way for this process, right? Like different people are going to give you different answers based off of their different experiences. And we as people, we all have different opinions. We all have different ideas. We have different wants and different needs. And so this is just my experience personally. In this very short amount of time that we have, trying to explain it in the clearest, easiest way possible. But for those of you who want to get into the entertainment industry, go for it. Don't hesitate. Don't have the self-doubt. Don't be like, oh, like I don't know if I'm going to be good enough, or I don't look like this person, or I don't sound like that, or my voice sucks, or whatever. Like, don't worry about any of that. If you want to do it, go for it. And if it's for you, it's going to be for you. If it's not for you, then no worries. Do your best, forget the rest. You're either going to live with the pain of progress or the pain of regret. And the pain of regret hurts much more.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys. But yeah, that's kind of all I got to say on it.
Okay. So if you guys want a part 2 to this episode and you guys have more questions on if anything entertainment industry wise that you guys want to ask Space Muffin, leave it down in the comment section below and we're probably going to do an episode 2 on this. But other than that, we are also officially on Spotify now. Will be available also on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts pretty soon. But for now, we're just on YouTube and Spotify, so please check us out.
Thank you so much, everybody. You guys have a good rest of your day, okay?
See you guys.
Bye.